Please be seated. Grace, peace, and mercy are yours from the triune God. Amen. This weekend, Tom Reed and I had the wonderful and very exciting opportunity to go to Synod Assembly in Loveland. Whew. A Synod Assembly is this weekend where the Synod, ours is called the Rocky Mountain Synod, gathers from our 5-state area all the pastors, deacons, and delegates from each congregation and does the work of the church. So the 430-ish of us heard all about what we as a Synod are doing, and it is a lot. We are doing a lot. We heard about college campus ministries. We heard about benevolence and natural disasters, support for young seminarians and pastors. We heard about camps and the lives changed at camp. We heard about New Beginnings prison ministry, refugee resettlements, helping people out at our southern border as they find new lives. We heard about lives changed all over our world, and we ourselves were fed by some amazing preaching and worship from the bishops joining us from the Grand Canyon Synod, Pacifica Synod, Northern California, and Southern California Synods. We also elected new committee members, new Synod council reps, and a new bishop, Bishop-elect Reverend Dr. Megan Johnston Alabuni. It was a lot. Might sound like a long and boring slog of elections and videos and speeches. And part of it was. But it was also a really cool time to see our connectedness and all of the good things that we do as a church. We do a lot, and it wouldn't be possible without each and every one of us giving and volunteering and making all of these beautiful things happen. The image we get in the text of the vine of Jesus and our connectedness to each other through Christ and all of the good and lovely, abundant fruit that is produced when we are doing it together was evident and obvious. And I'm sure every pastor that was there is probably preaching on that. And the church, despite us not hearing very much about it, it still changes lives. There is still very good fruit, and there is so much amazing possibility and abundance left to do for us. We do amazing things together in the ELCA, and more than that, we proclaim a liberating gospel that speaks to the soul. There is fruit, abundant fruit in this church. But here's the thing. You know, we hear about the connectedness in this metaphor in our text. We often hear about the fruit and abundant and how amazing it is. We sometimes hear about the seeds from pastors and how the stuff we do takes time and nurturing that we might never see. Sometimes some pastors will talk about the fire in this text. We are not going to today, but just know I don't think it's talking about eternal damnation. I just don't. We can talk more about it at Bible study if you want. But you know what we never talk about in this vine story, or any story in the Bible, at least I have never heard it talked about: flowers. Flowers. Where there is fruit or a vine on a plant, there are always flowers. And I love flowers. They are important because what do flowers do for a vine? They attract. They attract. What else do flowers do? Produce. They turn into fruit and they produce. They smell good. They attract pollinators. They bring people in. They draw you in. They attract pollinators and allow fruit to form in the first place. In our vine metaphor, you know, where we are the branches and Christ is the vine, what are the flowers? Living things. Okay. What are the flowers? Living things. What else? Our actions, yeah, yeah. Our actions, okay. The breath of life, sure. Jesus is sometimes the flower or the breath of life. Yeah, yeah. I have a story for you all. Last year, I was at a wedding reception, and as often happens, someone found out that I was a pastor. Super fun when this happens. And when this happens, it can go a lot of different ways. People can get nervous and walk away. People get really curious and ask me a lot of questions. Sometimes people try and explain that they believe, but they don't go to church for this or that reason. Sometimes it goes a different way, though, and people bring their hurt. And at this wedding reception, talking to a young man, this conversation took that route. And he got angry. And I get it. There's a lot to be angry about sometimes. And he started asking me questions like, why would you, as a seemingly educated, with it person, lead that kind of thing? Why would you do that with a good conscience? Why are you a part of the church? It does not make a difference. In fact, it hurts people, he said. How could you be involved in something like that? Now, I've been a part of conversations like this before, so I recognize that there's a lot going on there. So I had to ask him to elaborate. And he said that he lost someone because they killed themselves because they were gay and religious, and the church told them that they were broken. This happens. He went on to say that there is war, people suffering, and people unable to find jobs, and the economy stinks, and people in prison, and people are buried in debt, and the world is on fire from climate change, and the church doesn't care. The church didn't do anything about it. And he was mad. It's a true story. Now, I care about all those things, and I'm a part of the church. You, people of Well of Hope, care about those things. And you are a part of the church. Our church, the Rocky Mountain Synod, the ELCA, cares about those things. We do stuff. Tom and I spent all weekend hearing all about them. We share about them on our weekly emails. We support these ministries. We give money to them. We build relationships. We volunteer and pray and vote and advocate. And join other churches with our synod to fight so that we can care for people who are struggling. We care about those things. We try and tell a different story. But this is not the story the young man heard. Something is missing. This is not the story that people in our world hear about the church. They hear something else. Why? Use our vine metaphor if you wish. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, they hear stuff on the street. They see things on the internet, right? They hear people on the pastors on TV saying something, or the people on the news saying something. It's a different kind of flower than the flower that we put out in our little branch of the vine. That part of the church is big. It's loud. Is every flower safe? Nope, it's not. It's not. Some flowers hurt. Here's another story. When I grew up in my little town of 1,000 people, there were 3 Lutheran churches. 1,000 people, 3 Lutheran churches. 2 ELCA churches, 1 Missouri Synod church. Why are there 2 ELCA churches in town? I do not know. One was Norwegian, one was Swedish. Can't get along. Don't get it. Anyway, I lived there my whole life. Grew up, learned lots of things, went to school with the same people, played sports, took lots of classes from them. I had been inside these church buildings many times for various meetings, Boy Scout stuff, whatever. But, friends, not one of those people I grew up in any of these 3 churches or any other Lutheran church told me about grace. Not one. Until I found myself completely broken with all of my efforts to be perfect in every single aspect of my life and to earn God's love by just trying to be enough for every dang person. And trying that hard finally became impossible, and holding it all together became unrealistic. And despite hearing the word grace, and despite growing up in different churches my whole life, and I did not understand grace. Grace was still not free for me, and I left the church. Probably because I was a lot like this young man that I talked to at the wedding reception. Now fast forward a few years, I find myself in a seminary classroom. In a Lutheran seminary, opening the small catechism for the first time, which is what every single middle school, high school, confirmation student reads. Who has read the small catechism? Yeah. And I read it after I had a master's degree in divinity. In my 3rd year. And I am in class crying, weeping, because I finally knew grace. I had gone to church my whole entire life. I knew Lutherans my whole life. They were my friends. And it took me going to seminary to hear about it. Not one of those people I grew up with and knew about Lutheran grace thought I needed to hear about grace. Every single one of them thought that it was a given, something that everybody understood, that grace in this place means the same as any other type of grace that people hear. And friends, it doesn't. It's different here. There are people out there, you might be one of them, who have never heard about free grace, a table where all people are invited, where there are no special words or hoops to jump through or good works you need to accomplish or personal contortions you need to adhere to. There are people who have grown up in churches, left churches, people who still go to churches and are hoping to score enough points to be good with God, people that have never been to church, because what's the point? Who have never heard that God's love is for them, that there is a place where hope is alive and where the ways of hate and greed do not have the last word. There is a church that cares and does something about it. People are looking for it. People need to hear it. And here's the thing. People will not know it unless we tell them about it. People are desperate to know that there is a place that proclaims love, that proclaims about the world and cares about the world and people in radical ways and will do something about it. And we need to understand that without this flower, we are the flowers, everybody. Without telling people about the goodness of Christ and the infinite possibilities of creative and beautiful life in Jesus, without the explicit invite, people will not hear. They won't. They're not just going to show up here magically one morning. We can talk about media presence or the website, and we can talk about our discomfort about sharing the good news and not wanting to be too pushy or anything like those Christians. But grace the work of the church. God's love in action is good news. It is. People need to hear about it. Take it from somebody who knows. Without being connected to that vine of Christ, it feels like you are dead sometimes. Sometimes life throws a lot our way and we feel horrible, and we need the connectedness of each other and to God to give us hope. We need community and reminders of love. We need belonging. We need hope. Despite trying to do it alone, despite trying and trying and trying, we can't do it alone. We need each other. We need God. We need the good news, and so does everybody else. And again, I'm sorry to tell you this. I know it might make you uncomfortable, but they need to hear it from us. They need a flower. They need to hear and see goodness and hope. They need an invite. Lucky for us, though, we have an opportunity today. Today, we are going to do something good in our community. We are going to teach some gratitude to students. We are going to encourage teachers. We are going to tell people that we love them and appreciate them, and we are going to get a chance to build relationships in our community and to be flowers. To teach people that there is a community of faith in Castle Rock that cares about them, that is a beacon of hope, love, and inclusion, and wants everyone, no matter who they are, to know God's love. Amen.